Hello, North York. I hope you're doing well on this muggy Monday night. Welcome to NeighbourLink North York's weekly Willowdale interview series, Meet Your Neighbour. If you're joining us for the first time, how this works is each week we introduce you to a new neighbor in the spirit of building a more connected community. And we ask them the tough questions like, what's the best splash pad in Willowdale on a hot and humid day? Our guest tonight is known as the Passionate Physio. She's a registered physiotherapist, postpartum fitness coach, mother of two, and fellow Willowdaler. We're super excited to chat with her. It's Surabhi Veitch. Before we start the interview, allow me to introduce you to our host, Lily Chang. Welcome, Lily.
Hi, Sebastian, and hello, fellow North Yorkers and fellow Willowdalers. So glad for you to drop by here on our Monday night special, a time for us to meet new neighbors. And I was very intrigued when I saw Surabhi's Instagram account, very lively, something that you don't really associate with someone who has a baby in the house. Usually, I don't know, myself, when I had a tiny kid at home, I was exhausted every day. But she brings enthusiasm and energy to her Instagram account. So I'm looking forward to hearing what is her secret on maintaining that energy. So let us give a warm welcome to Surabhi. Hello.
Hi, Lily. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, I am intrigued. You are a mother of two, am I correct?
That's right. I have a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old.
Wow. So when I had a 2-year-old and a baby, newborn, I remember being exhausted that first year. It was like going into a tunnel. What is your secret to be able to have a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old and create all these energetic posts on your Instagram account?
Well, the secret is there's no real secret. I am exhausted. So that's straight up. It's not like it's easy or not exhausting. It is exhausting. But this being my second time, I was kind of mentally and physically prepared for what it would look like. I was mentally and physically prepared for things to be slower paced than they were before, because I've always been someone who likes to do a lot of things, like go traveling and, see friends and just go out and do things. And then with the pandemic, it's kind of forced us all to slow down, which allowed me to kind of start this business and work on this business of mine while also having a second child. My husband's also taken some time off, which makes a huge difference. If you have a partner at home and they're able to take time off, make that happen. I know that's not feasible for everyone and not everyone has partners, but we've decided that this is our time, with their 2 young kids. And by him taking some time off, it also allows me to build my business and not burn out, because that's essentially what happens to a lot of new moms in that first year is complete exhaustion and burnout.
Wait a second. So let me just get this straight. You had a baby during the pandemic and launched a business at the same time.
I hadn't even planned this, to be honest. This all started off because last summer I was out of a job. I'm a physiotherapist and our clinic was closed during the pandemic. And then when it reopened, I knew it wasn't going to be busy. And so I was pregnant And so I was nervous going back to work, and I had a toddler at home because daycares were closed. So I started working virtually. So that's kind of how I started doing this. And I saw how good it was that, hey, you know what, that clinic life that I imagined, I can recreate that virtually. And my outcomes with clients is actually better, because when clients see you virtually, they're expecting to do exercises. They're expecting to do some homework. When they're coming to see you live, some of them, they just want you to rub them for half an hour and kind of get a massage, right? Which is not what physios really do, but that expectation changes when it's virtual. And I've always dreamed about starting this business, even when I had my first child. And one thing that stopped me was the fact that I knew I wanted a second child. And I was like, it's a bad time to start a business when you're, still having young kids. And then last year happened, all the rules thrown out the window. A month before my son was born, I launched my Instagram page, and I was like, you know what? I'll just share my journey. I'll share my post-pregnancy journey and my postpartum recovery journey. Hadn't intended for it to start becoming like a business, like an official business this early on. But as I got started and I communicated to moms and people started interacting with me, I saw this huge need. I was like, people need to know this stuff that I know, because I want moms to feel good about themselves, their bodies, their postpartum bodies. I want them to see their bodies as magical and not this like resentful thing that, oh, it's so different now, it's never going to be the same. I want them to see the potential and make it easy for them. And that's why everything I share on Instagram is bite-sized and doable. Like you'll never see me do like an hour-long workout, because who has an hour interrupted? Like not me, right? When you have a new baby, like you have to make use of those small pockets of time. And that's what I encourage people to do. And I encourage my clients to do. And the way I build out their programs is bite-sized, 5-7 minute chunks, not half hour, 45-minute chunks of time. So in January this year, I launched my first postpartum return to exercise program, which is a small group coaching program. And I worked with 7 wonderful mamas and in Toronto, all of them, over the course of 8 weeks. And that has been like my passion. Like I love running this group coaching program. It's a community, right? Like of moms interacting. And it's been just a joy seeing how their motherhood journeys have been impacted by our short time working together.
That's great. And you're launching your business from the heart of Willowdale. How long have you been living here?
So I actually went to school at Young and Steeles at Brook back in high school. But we didn't live in Willowdale back then. We lived in North York still, but we moved into Willowdale in 2009. That's right, 2009. And then I got married, and my husband and I lived on St. Clair for a while. And then we moved back here just over 3 years ago when we were expecting my first. My parents live in the same building that I live in. And I was like, I need to be close to home. I need support. And so we looked all over here, and it just so ended up that we ended up in the same exact building. It just was the best at that time. So it's actually been really, really nice. So I've been in Willowdale for as long as I can really remember, considering I went to high school around this neighborhood as well.
And what is your favorite thing about raising your family here?
I love that there's so much diversity. Like I was sitting in a parking lot the other day. I had to drop off a package, and I just saw like literally every culture, every age, like people not just who look different, but they are different. They have all varieties of jobs. They have varieties of talents. You'll see artists, you'll see musicians, you'll see just a variety of food too. And I love that having young kids here, there's so many parks, like every corner there's a park. And there's like small little playgrounds, and there's little trails through parks. And it's a wonderful neighborhood to raise a child in. With the pandemic, it's been tough because we haven't been able to make use of all of the services, obviously, like, going to the library or going to the pools. But even still, like we're so grateful to be in this community, and it's just so lively.
Have you been able to connect with other moms during the pandemic? Because I think that's been a challenge for a lot of new moms.
It really has. In person, for sure, it's been a challenge, especially with two. I think it's almost easier with just one because you have only one kid's schedule to worry about. But now, like, the older kid's schedule takes precedence, right? So it's like, okay, well, she's got naps, so we can't be just out with baby all day, because like he'll kind of nap on the go, but like she won't, right? And so I find that now it's starting to get easier as the weather is getting nicer. Like, we've met some people at the park who have kids around the same age as my daughter, or, who've had babies fairly recently as well. Online, though, that's where I feel like my major community is, because people have been forced to find online communities. And that's been wonderful. Like, one day I was at the park and I ran into one of my Instagram followers. Wow. And she was like, I know you from Instagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like that was a very cool moment for me, because obviously I'm, pretty new to Instagram. I'm not like a famous person, but it was just cool to have like that connection. She's like, I see your exercises. Like, I've seen you exercise here before on your Instagram, and now I see you in person. So I was like, that's really cool. It's a really, really cool, it's kind of small knit kind of community, I feel. People are fairly friendly too.
You've done a great job, considering you've launched, in only 9-10 months, your business, and you've already amassed quite a large following of around 1,800 people. What's that been like? And what tips do you have for fellow entrepreneurs who might watch this?
The biggest thing is be genuine, because be authentic, right? Like, no, people can sense fakeness even on social media. Like, I will get DMs almost every day with like people who are just cold calling. Like, they don't know you. They haven't interacted on your page. They haven't followed you, and they don't know what you're doing. And they're just like, hey, come buy this or come try this out. And it's like, you can't build a relationship like that in person, and you shouldn't expect to do that online either. So treat social media as like real social interactions. Like, if you see someone online, introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm Surabhi, and I'm a physiotherapist. I love what you're doing, right? And I find that I'm naturally a good observer and a good listener. And so on social media, like, it's very easy for me to like observe someone's page and be like, all right, this is like what they're about. This is who they are. And then make genuine connections that way. I think that's one of the biggest thing is like, be yourself, because people can sense fakeness. And if you are an entrepreneur, it's really hard putting yourself out there. Like, there's a lot of insecurity you have to work through, because it's weird. Like, my life is now displayed for like random strangers to see. But I also want people to know that I'm a human being. Like, there's nothing exceptional about me that's allowing me to exercise that you or any other mom can't do as well. And that's why I show things as real as possible.
I did find a lot of your videos on Instagram very authentic, relatable. And you're very natural as well, because not everyone's natural in front of the camera. So yeah, you're able to.
I was gonna say it. I'm also, that helps for sure, like being able to speak. And also, I've been a physiotherapist for 10 years, so that I have a lot of experience, and I have a lot of experience talking to people. So I've worked with many moms over the years, and that's why I've launched a business that really helps mamas, because I've seen a huge difference in, once people become moms, they go from athletic or pretty, maybe athletes or recreational athletes, to then stop, like no more exercise, no more self-care. It's like they've signed their kids up for a million activities, but there's no time for themselves. And then they come in their, late 40s, 50s, and they're sore everywhere, and they've got chronic and persistent injuries and pain for since their kids were born. And so it's a lot easier to prevent those things than it is to then later deal with 20-year-old pain, right? Because your body is going to change if you just don't move for 20 years, or even 10 years, or even 5 years. So it's one of those things that I hope to change. I hope to make it accessible for moms of all kinds to be able to move in whatever capacity they can.
And what do you think the impact of the pandemic has been on new moms who, are trying to figure out the new land that they find themselves in, both physically, mentally, emotionally?
And that's really, I'm grateful that I have my second child, because at least I had somewhat of an experience, right? If you're a pandemic mom, first time kid, it can go either way. You may have a lot of support now if you have a partner who's also working from home. Now you're not alone with your baby all day. You have support, which is huge. You can take a break. You can, go out for a walk by yourself. You couldn't do that if you were by yourself at home. But at the same time, access to every resources like breastfeeding support, mental health support. There's huge wait lists. People are not sure about going in person to even physio or anything. So they're sometimes just not booking appointments, not accessing those services in time. And then there's no like mom groups or support groups. There are a lot online. So I will say that we've done a really great job of online and virtual support. But people need to know that exists. Not everybody knows that there are tons of services out there. So one area I've seen too is that people are far less active. So not just new moms, but like everyone, because you think, oh, I'm working from home, I'll have more time to exercise. But it's like, no, you're not leaving your house. You're not walking to the TTC. You're not climbing those stairs. You're not doing anything. You're just at home all the time. And I don't use the term lightly, but it is depressing. Like you're at home all the time, staring at the same four walls. I think that there's been a huge shift now as people are getting more vaccines and like people are going outside more because it's nicer out. I've seen that generally like people at the park just seem more upbeat versus like 3 months ago or 6 months ago. Like, the energy was just really low.
Mm-hmm.
And being a new mom is extremely challenging. And like, I am a new mom, second time new mom. And I'm sure in 3 or 4 months, I'll look back on this time and be like, whoa, like that was hard. It's really challenging to process it all when you're going through it. It's almost easier looking back at it and like reflecting, right? And because I'm still in the thick of it, I haven't truly done that very much. And I find that a lot of new moms are in the same boat. It's like they don't really understand how challenging this whole year has been. And when they look back on it, they're going to realize, wow, I'm so resilient. I'm so strong. Like I went through a lot kind of thing.
What is the intersection that you see between online and in-person community? Because as you've said, there's been a lot of growth in online engagement over the last year out of necessity, but now we're facing this transition out of the pandemic. And I think we all long for, face-to-face, in-person relationships as well.
For sure.
Where do you see the connection between the two as we kind of journey into this new reality?
I mean, I think this summer it's going to be like a lot of in-person because people are like starved for that face-to-face connection. But once the summer goes, I think the novelty of in-person will again wear off. I think that there are a lot of introverted people who have done pretty well during the pandemic. And, they're like, I don't mind not having to go out to every party and not be invited to every wedding. It's kind of nice. But there needs to be a balance because you can't be doing everything virtually and you can't be doing everything at home. So I think like I see physical activity as a great way of forcing you to get outside, right? You can go to a park, you can go for a run, a bike ride, you can play in an intramural soccer league or, anything, right? And that forces you to be out in the community. Food, restaurants, like people are starting to get out to restaurants. And I think that that's something that will also be hopefully busy for all of our local restaurants in the neighborhood. But I don't know. I think that we've seen a taste of like how virtual can go. And I think it's here to stay for sure. I think virtual, even in my profession, I think virtual is here to stay. Tons of my moms are like, this is awesome. I don't have to leave my house for an appointment. I remember my first time being a mom, I had a pelvic physio appointment. It was the most stressful. I had to organize with my mom to help me out, drive to find parking, parallel park, get to the appointment, feed the baby. There's like so many steps. If you're at home, you literally just hop on, finish, your baby doesn't even have to leave, and you're done. So there are a lot of benefits. So yeah, I don't know. I think I've been pleasantly surprised to see how well virtual can go. But if we only ever stick with virtual, like our mental health will just continue to tank. We need to have kids need to play with each other. Like we need to see each other. We're social beings. So yeah.
And what does community mean to you?
Community is one of the main reasons I actually started my business. Community is everything. Like I am an immigrant. Like I didn't grow up here. I moved here when I was 10. And it was just my family. We don't have like extended family and like a huge network. And so since I moved here, building a community of friends, building a community has been so valuable to me. And it's my village, really. Like I don't have I don't have all of those extended relatives who can come and drop off food when I'm sick, or if I have a baby and a new baby. I have to make that for myself. And I think each of us has that difficult job now, especially if you don't have a big family or family support, is to build that community out there. The one thing I do want to say is there is community. It's just you have to find your people. And like I'm creating a space virtually where people feel seen and heard, people who have real issues. It's not like I don't have a curated feed where everything is perfect. Like it's life, and I think that people need to see that because social media, especially if you follow any like big name followers or influencers, it's all curated. And we know that, but it still impacts us negatively when we're like, oh my gosh, they have this perfect house and we're always on vacation. And, it does impact you. But I want people to know that there is community out there. But you do have to make the effort to put yourself out there too and like make those relationships.
How have you found it in terms of connecting to neighbors who live in your building?
So my building's interesting. There's a lot of seniors, and they've been here for like ever. This is an older building. They all hang out. They all have like a tight knit, community. And then there's more young parents and young professionals, kind of with young kids in the past year, actually. So we'll see each other we'll see each other at the park and kind of say hi. We haven't like hung out or like made play dates, I think, because of the pandemic. I think if it wasn't for that, we probably would more often. But there's a sense of like caution that everybody has, myself included, because we're not sure like how to go about it. So we'll just see people at the park. And we talk to our neighbors, like we say hi to them. I know the people who live on either side of me. None of them have young kids, but I think when you have young kids, older people naturally like you more because they like your kids and they're like, hi, if you have a young baby or something. So my parents have lived in this building a lot longer, since 2009. So, we've been around long enough that I think people recognize us and I know the regulars too. I do wish that there was more in our building. They're hoping they'll put a like kids playroom or like kids area because they want to welcome more families in. So I hope that they put that in, especially for the winters, because playgrounds can be tough in the winters. But
some condos, I know at least one condo in Willowdale, they hold family events. So at Christmas, they have a Santa visit with a Christmas movie and treats. And
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Because I feel like too, you have, through North York Mountains, you're very good at building that community. And I love that idea actually, because I think sometimes we need to, as the younger people in the building, suggest this because most of the people on the board are older and they're not necessarily thinking about the same things from that angle, right? They have different priorities probably than we do. So that's a great idea. It's a great suggestion.
Well, I think, even for a social committee to operate outside of the board in order to just foster. So there are some condos that do have social committees. And if you picture like how many people live in a building, it really is a small village. It could be a small village. And, during the pandemic, I think we saw how useful it can be if you do know your immediate neighbors, if there is a need. So, people who couldn't go get their groceries if they were quarantining and how life can be just more pleasant since we're not able to be social. At the very least, having meaningful connections with your immediate neighbors, be it in front of the building with your mask on, but it's still just like those little human interactions that
even knowing each other's names and like being able to say hi. Like, I think I've lived in buildings before where it's just like you head down, you kind of walk past each other, but like, it's nice. You're right. Like, it's nice to be like, hey, so-and-so, like, how are you? Like, how are things? Right. And just to know and have an idea of what's going on in each other's lives, so that if there is a problem, we can be like, hey, I'm sorry, can you help us with grocery pickup? For us, it's a little different because my parents also live in the building. So there's I would probably be more friendly, not friendly, but like I would probably make more of an attempt to make more connections if my parents didn't live here. But we've been fortunate to be able to see them and, see each other, because I think that has been, for both of our mental health and theirs, it's been a huge benefit. And I know a lot of the older people in the building, they've connected with each other through the pandemic, just because if they live alone and it's been tough, I think, for everybody being by themselves.
So what are your hopes for Willowdale?
Ooh, hopes for Willowdale. I hope that Willowdale can come together a little bit more, in the sense of, probably in the past year, there's been a lot of high stress. So people are just in general like, no, this is the best idea. This is my way. This is your way. I hope that we can come together and just realize that we're all here to have good lives. We want our kids to be happy, and we may choose different ways for that. And that's okay. And just kind of respect that people can be different, but still are welcomed here, because Toronto and Willowdale in particular has always been a fairly diverse community. And I think it's important to continue to embrace and celebrate that. I love to see like celebrations of different holidays. Like, I remember when my daughter was in daycare, like I learned about so many holidays, and I love to see that. I see it on North York Moms, or even on Willowdale Neighbors Connect, people mention like, this is Diwali, this is this holiday. And, I love learning about that. And I think that's how we grow, because we weren't all born here. So we're all also learning, right? As adults, as parents, and fostering community, I think, can only happen if people are tolerant and accepting of each other, and also are willing to kind of be open-minded and make that effort to connect with others. So I hope Willowdale continues to kind of head that way.
I think we saw a glimpse of what could be in the aftermath of the Yonge Street tragedy. People had just this willingness to reach out, even across, their comfort zones, in order to just care for a stranger on the street who may have looked very different from them. Yeah. And I feel like that was like a kind of an awakening for our neighborhood. And I agree. I think coming out of the pandemic, we need to be more intentional about building those spaces for connecting. And, one day, my favorite way of connecting across cultures is food, right? So
having like a food festival with like all the, that's your job, organize. I feel like you can do it. You can bring it together.
Or, even like if every building had a potluck, or every street had a, right? Like just
neighborhoods had different potlucks and kind of, the idea of a barbecue is always there, right? Like neighborhood barbecues. But the reality is, like, I don't eat meat. So it's like, I've never been a fan of barbecues because it's just exclusionary of anybody who's vegetarian. And they often have vegetarian burgers on a meat grill, which I would not eat. So, these are the little things that I think knowing who's in the neighborhood is important. Yes. And knowing, being okay with different foods and cultures having their own ways to eat and celebrate. Because food is big in this area. Like this young trip here, like tons of restaurants. That is one thing that I would say is like, I'd love to see more vegetarian and vegan options, because there are more people in this neighborhood now that are vegetarian or vegan. And there's not really that many options for restaurants in this area. There's a couple, but there's not as many.
Yeah, I think it's hard also. A lot of restaurants are Chinese and Korean, and those two cuisines are heavily meat centered.
Meat heavy, right? Exactly. I know. That's why I'm like, I live in this area, but I haven't tried so many restaurants because I just am not able to eat there. I do love, I love Sushi Bong because it's just like, I love their vegetarian sushi. Like, it's delicious. And I'll eat there all the time, even though I don't eat fish, but my husband eats fish. So
I think Sushi Bong is a pillar of our community.
It's always busy. There's always people there. It's always like, anytime I call, they have like other orders. I know.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that. And then there's that other rice dog place.
Oh yeah.
I've got the longest lineup. There's nothing I can eat there, but like every time I go past there, there's like so many people. Yeah.
So, yes, I see that all the time as well. One thing that we're thinking of, like NeighbourLink North York as an idea, is to have a Meet Your Neighbor Day where people can sign up to say, like, for example, if you live in your building, you could say, well, I'm going to host a lemonade hour for people who live on my floor. So obviously it would have to be outdoors. So you could just invite the people on your floor to say, we're going to meet at Willowdale Park or somewhere on this day, and I'll be serving lemonade. If you want to bring a treat, you can, but just it's that intentionality, right? And sometimes you just need a spark to, get people out of their comfort zones to connect with each other. So that's one of the ideas that we're kind of thinking about. Not sure if you'd be interested in hosting something like that.
I was going to say, I will say yes, but with the idea of that I have also a lot of other stuff going on. So I don't want to say yes and be like, but that sounds like something I would definitely be interested in. I think that what you just said is so true. Is like, sometimes we're all fearful. I think ultimately we're all fearful of rejection, that we might invite someone out and nobody shows up, right? But I think that sometimes it just takes people to take initiative and be like, listen, like, I'm inviting you. You can show up if you want. This happens on social media all the time. Like, I had somebody reach out to me and was like, hey, I like your vibe. Why don't we set up a business meeting? Because we both are in the business of helping moms. She's a parenting coach and I am like a fitness and physio coach. And another one of my friends works with pregnant and postpartum people as well as a healer and yoga, prenatal yoga. So this woman reached out to the two of us and was like, why don't the three of us set up a business meeting? And at first I was like, oh, I don't really know her, but I'm like, sure, why not? And it ended up being the best thing. And we now have this like mastermind group where we meet up, every so often to chat about our businesses. And it takes somebody with initiative. And I think that we all need to kind of be a little bit more gutsy, especially like people like me who are starting businesses. I've had to come out of my comfort zone so much because I am an introvert. Like, I'm not somebody who is going to like be lively at the party or whatever, right? Like, I will in a small group.
I find that hard to believe when I see your video.
But the thing is, when I know people really well, I'm like very outgoing. Like, all of my friends would be like, yes, she's outgoing, but that's because they know me. But if in like a big group of like 50 strangers, I'm not going to be that like, loud unless I know everybody. Then I will chit chat with everyone.
I think the first Instagram video I saw of you, you were like doing this. I was like, oh, she looks like the life of the party. So
I can be both extremes, I think. But I say I'm introverted because I need my alone time. So it's not that I'm like shy. I'm not shy. I just can't be around people all the time because it's very draining. So I need my like alone time to recharge. So in that sense, it's been nice having a new baby in the pandemic. I don't have a bunch of visitors. I don't feel forced to go see family out of town or like friends. It's kind of nice to just have like the four of us and time to kind of just do our own thing, because it's been busy enough as it is. Like, we don't need to add that extra pressure of play dates and this and that on top of it.
Well, Bernd Weller, who was our interviewee from last week, he said you're an extroverted introvert, and so is he. So he's, had to start his business many years ago, and he's actually hosting a Willowdale walk group where they go out on walks. So he's one of those people who is taking initiative to build community.
I love that. That's awesome. Nice to meet you, Bern.
So now we're going to start the Willowdale rapid fire round of our time together. Doesn't have to be long answers, and just some quick questions about your experience of our neighborhood. So number one, what is your favorite place to hang out in Willowdale?
Edithville Park.
What is your favorite place to eat in Willowdale?
Sushi Bong.
I think a lot of people would have that same answer. What sets Willowdale apart from other neighborhoods?
Sorry, what? I didn't hear the question.
What sets us apart from other neighborhoods?
I think we have a ton of space and parks. We have a ton of parks.
Mm-hmm. How has Willowdale changed over time?
Well, way more condos, way more people. And it's not as like dozy and sleepy as it used to be. Like it's lively now. It's almost like a downtown.
Yeah, look at all the people who come here for hot dogs.
Yeah, exactly. We're known now. Before, people used to be like, "You live where?" Like young and feels like now people know the neighborhood. So,
is there a hidden gem in Willowdale that you'd be okay to share with us?
Hidden gem? That's tough. I don't have any hidden gems. I'm not that creative. I just like all the parks and trees, probably because I spend so much time there with the kids. So,
and what is your most memorable moment that you've had here in Willowdale?
Okay, so a negative memorable moment was a Young Street tragedy, because I think that is something I will never forget. I had moved here a month before that to this condo, and I was 37 weeks pregnant. So it was a very emotional time. So that was very memorable, but I really liked that recent memorial event that was put together. Like that really, I think it was closure for a lot of us and just showed the way that our community can kind of come together. So I really like that. And then the other memories is having my kids in Willowdale at home. So.
Oh, you had your babies at home?
Yeah.
Amazing. So they're
true Willowdalers.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hang out with you and chat and hear about your corner of Willowdale.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that we're lucky to have you as a community member. I look forward to, your business growing and seeing how that is actually going to, I know a lot of it is virtual right now, but I can't imagine that it's going to stay there. I feel like it's going to explode out of its current space, and it will by necessity spill out into our neighborhood. And as a result, a lot of new moms here in Willowdale will benefit and, have a hopefully more connected experience and also be more confident about, how to live well after you have a baby. So
exactly. Because life doesn't end then. It just begins, right? It's a new beginning. So I want all of the local moms to know you can reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, connect with me. I love connecting with people, and I want to build those genuine relationships, and I want to know people who are in this area. And if you need help or not, and if you have content ideas, like I'm very open to that. People DM me all the time. They're like, hey, I have like this issue, but I can't give medical advice on Instagram, obviously. But if you want me to create content that's kind of helps you out, I can do that as well.
So why don't we close out with a stretch? Something that, if someone's on a keyboard all day, as many of us are.
Well, I have a good one for you. We're going to do the cat-cow. You can stand up. You don't have to get to the floor.
Okay.
And you're going to basically, I got to move back there. There we go. You're going to bend over onto your chair.
Okay.
right?
I don't know.
You
Okay.
can actually do this on the floor too, but this is like a lazy person stretch, or the people who are not able to get down on the floor easily. It's also for them.
I can't get the angle right, but okay.
There we go. And then you're going to do the cat cow. So you're going to breathe in, stick
Mhm.
your butt out, looking up towards the ceiling. Let your belly hang. And breathe out, curl your spine, tuck your chin in. And really kind of push that chair away, stretching your mid back.
Oh.
Inhale, looking up again, stick your butt out, arch your back. And exhale. So if you've been on the keyboard sitting all day, you know how you're hunched forward. This just forces your spine kind of to go in either direction. Don't push it. Go wherever it's comfortable and then stop there. And you're just going to practice that inhale, exhale, because many of us, when we sit all day, we tend to breath hold. So this forces you to get into that deep breathing where you're connecting kind of your spine in and out in both directions. You can also do this on the floor on your hands and knees. That's traditionally how we do it. But this is a great option for those desk workers who are like on a meeting and want to do like a quick stretch. Just lean against your desk and you can do a quick cat cow.
That felt good.
And it's a small win. I love giving people small wins because then you feel like, yep, I did something today, right?
I'll have to bring that to a staff meeting tomorrow.
Do it. I would love that. I'd love to hear how it goes too.
Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And yes, everyone can check out the Passionate Physio on Instagram. And we look forward to seeing more about your business and it growing here in our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lily and Sebastian, for having me on here. This was lovely to connect with all of you. And I look forward to connecting some more.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was so fun. I'm just hopping off of my cat cow stretch. I'm feeling so much better. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us. We had such a fun time talking to you and hearing you share about building authentic community connections. And thank you to everyone who joined us for this broadcast or for those who are tuning into the recording on Facebook. Be sure to let people know about Meet Your Neighbor and tune in next time for our next broadcast. Same time, same place, new neighbor. You have yourself a wonderful evening, Willowdale. Thanks, Surabhi. Thanks, Lily. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.